Hey there, Bible buddies. I've got another Bible review for you today, and this one is an Oxford Long Primer. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you probably know that I've already done an Oxford Long Primer review, and yes, it did look very similar to this one. However, the Long Primer model was very popular over the years, and Oxford, as well as other producers, made a ton of them. So I have several sitting to my left. There's quite a few, and so I'm going to do some reviews on them, and I will try to spread them out so I don't inundate you guys with long primer reviews. The long primer edition is my personal favorite. Sorry, I have quite a few of them, but I did want to review them because they are slightly different between each model. Some of them are fairly different from model to model, but others, it is what it is. I was going to do one video with them all to kind of show them and compare them, but it ended up being like 10 minutes per Bible, and it ended up being like over an hour long video, and I think that's too much. I don't know if you guys would enjoy that. Me, however, it's harder to sit down for an hour uninterrupted. So I figured I would just do each one and then kind of space them out, hopefully fairly spaced out again, so you guys don't get inundated with them. But we'll start with this one. Again, an Oxford Long Primer. Now, the previous one that I reviewed was an Oxford Long Primer in Levant, Morocco, and it looks very similar to this. However, this is a calfskin, and it's very nicely done calfskin. If you look, you can see that wonderful, deep, very tactile grain. This is an amazing grain. For Bible, just an outstanding leather. There's a little perimeter line there on the edge. It continues onto the spine. On the spine, we have Holy Bible Concordance, and then red letter. Yes, it is a red letter edition. And then we have Oxford at the bottom. There are some spine, I don't even know. They're like, not like rib ghosts, I guess. They're so faint and so light. They're just barely there. So maybe like a misting of ribs, of spine ribs, I don't know. On the back, we can see that wonderful grain again. Oh, it's beautiful. I love these sort of deep striations like that. It's wonderful. And then the perimeter line again continues. Now, for head and tail bands, we have white head and tail bands, and then we have two ribbons, but they're aftermarket, so to speak, ribbons. I added these. This is just a red and black double-sided satin ribbon. The original, I think, was like just a black fabric, and it's probably pretty worn. That's why I replaced it. So I went with those. Now, the gilt is a probably real gold gilt. It does look very shiny, it does have a nice luster to it. And Oxford, during that era, was using actual gold for the gold gilt. It's very well done. As far as the liner is concerned, it is a paste-down liner, and it does have like a black kind of synthetic material on the one side, and then it's just like a matte paper on the other side, a very thick matte paper. The corner work is very nicely well done. On the bottom, it is stamped with calf and nylon sewn. For the back cover, we have some nice corner work again. And it's stamped there with Oxford binding. Now, let's go ahead and get into it. At the beginning, we do have just a few blank pages of thicker paper here. About 4 sheets. Then we have a Holy Matrimony page. Now, I'm curious if there was a presentation page. It doesn't really look like it, but it's odd to me that they would open with this Holy Matrimony page instead of a presentation page. Maybe they kind of wanted you to use these pages for a presentation page. I'm not sure. We do also have a births page, a marriages page. We have the deaths page, and then the title page. You can see again that it's a red letter edition. And at the bottom we have the model information. So it does say long primer, which again, this is what's the model, and then it's the 8VO size. 8VO stands for octavo, which is just like a full-size Bible, about a 6x9. And then we have refs indicating that it has references, and then India paper indicating that it is printed on India paper, wonderful India paper. Now this India paper has aged just a little bit, so it does have a little bit of a yellow patina to it, but it's not terrible, and it is still very much super opaque. There's some more information on the back of the title page. And then we have our epistle dedicatory. You're going to have to forgive me in advance. There might be a lot of cuts in this review because this paper is very, very, very thin. And I have just the hardest time flipping very thin paper, so forgive all of the edits, but it's just the nature of the beast, so to speak. We do have our table of contents here. And then we have our table of signs used in this book, and a note on the references. We have the signs and abbreviations used in the references, and the first book of Moses called Genesis. Wonderful layout. So the long primer layout is, I don't know. Okay, so for me personally, there's the long primer layout, which I love. And then there's also another edition called the Pica. I don't know if I've reviewed one of those yet. but I love the pica also. The pica is very similar to the turquoise. It's like a large print. And I love large print. It's easy, and I don't mind big Bibles. I'm a pretty big dude, so it's easy enough for me to carry around large Bibles. So the pica and the long prime are probably duking it out for my favorite layouts of the era. As far as the layout of this one goes, though, the long primer, this is kind of a standard. So we see that there's the book and the chapter reference for the page. We also have running headers kind of here in the gutter, talking about kind of the subject of the kind of the range, the subject, I don't know, like a general subject of what's going on here. We do have pilcrow markers indicating the chapter breaks. You can't see them there. We do have chapter indicators here at the beginning of each chapter, chapter 2, and then we have a double line drop cap. I'll show you the center column references there as an example of what's to be expected. And we do have our page numbers in the bottom outer corners. Now this edition does have overcast stitching, and I'll show that to you right quick. It's very well done. So overcast stitching is that additional line of stitches there. It's supposed to just give it extra stability, sturdiness, extra sturdiness to keep it together. Usually what ends up happening is the first signature tends to pull away from the Bible. The more you use it, it'll kind of separate. I found, though, that what happens is the first signature still tends to pull away after a while. So this is a very, very, I guess, a very minimal enhancement. I haven't found it to be particularly useful. And it might just be those particular ones that are falling apart. Maybe it was incorrectly done or poorly placed, or whatever the case may be. I guess I've seen a mix. Some of them have held up well. Some of them, the first signature still separates. So just an aside, I suppose. So we'll go ahead and flip through it a little bit. Now, one thing to note, somebody called it out on one of my previous videos, actually my other Oxford long primer video. I think it was somewhere in the mid-40s, Oxford changed the way they did the words that are added to the biblical text. So most modern translations will italicize the words that are added to the biblical text, just to let you know, like, hey, these were added for clarity's sake, right? Around the mid-1940s, Oxford stopped doing that. So this particular edition is produced from the early 60s, and it does not have italicized words for the added words, right? For words that were added to help clarity, not for any nefarious reasons. But those words have not been italicized in this edition. So if you're looking for that feature, you would need to go either with an older Oxford, or when I get into review the other editions of the long primer, other editions maintain that. So I believe like Thomas Nelson held on to that. Maybe Concordia, Collins for sure held on to it. So if you get like a Collins long primer, theirs that I have, at least, I can't speak for all of them, but at least the editions that I have, they retain that kind of italic or italicized added words. Let's go ahead and flip through. You can see that wonderful red and gold art kit. Look at that, so nicely applied, very well done. Get to Psalms here. Let's go to Psalm 119. And you can see it does retain those Hebrew characters in the text. We'll take a look at the paper too here. Oh, this wonderful India paper, so nice, so very well done. You can see a very little bit of show through, but not very much, especially given the overall thickness of this Bible. It's fairly thin, fairly trim. Very nicely done. I love India paper. I wish this is one I wish they would have managed to keep around, but for whatever reason they did not. I say for whatever reason, but supposedly the process caused cancer, and that's why they ditched it. So I guess I'd rather have a few humans not suffering from cancer, right, instead of beautiful paper. I'll take the trade-off, to be fair. All right, so we have the end of the prophets here. And we do have a little production code stamped down there. Man, I wish my eyes were better. It looks like 1661N and then 6 and a small fraction that is too small for me to see. Then we have our New Testament title page. And I'm sure you guys already saw that it is a red letter text. Let me try and flip here. Here's the first page of Matthew. And we'll go to 6 and 7 where the red letter is greatest. So there is your red letter. I'll go ahead and pull it in for you. Now this red isn't horribly offensive. It is a very 1960s red, but it's not bad. It's fairly dark. I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10 as far as darkness goes. It's fairly nice. Now, one thing I have noticed though is that maybe because of the amount of red that's flooded on this page, the paper itself, the blank areas tend to pick up kind of a pink hue, and that could either be from, just my eye playing a trick on me, or the fact that there's, red text on the reverse side of this. So it kind of gives the page almost like a pink hue. I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up, but it's visible. So we'll go ahead and continue to flip. we get to the end. This one does have quite a few helps in the back, surprisingly, because it's not a very large Bible by any means. Large in terms of thickness. The footprint again is a full-size Bible, about a 6x9. But I'll give you exact measurements because I know that some people out there really love it when I measure the Bible down to 1/8 of an inch. So we'll humor them. So here we have the title page for the helps. You have a dictionary of scripture proper names, and then your subject index and a concordance. There's also maps. So I'll let you guys get a little sneak peek here. The dictionary of scripture proper names, and if you want to pause and read, you're more than welcome to. We'll kind of skip ahead through that. It's quite sizable. So here we have the end of our proper names, and then we have our subject index, the Holy Scriptures. There's a little sample of it. That also goes for quite a ways. We'll go to concordance. I love the long primer. If you guys love the long primer, let me know below. I know they're still making it. I think Alan picked up the long primer and they're still making it. If I remember correctly, I think they use it in the, somebody's going to correct me. I think it's the 40 series, the 50 series, and the 60 series. So like the 60, what does it be? Like the 42, 43, the 52, 53, and then like the 62, 63. I think those are long primers. And I have one here. Maybe I should compare. Maybe I'll do that at the end of all of them, not at the end of this one. Sorry. It's just I have enough Bibles laying out already. I have quite a few long primers. So you will have to bear with me as we get through them all. Goodness. As I am going to bear with this India paper getting through it. So there, we have the end of the subject index and the beginning of the concordance. And again, I'll let you guys have a sample of it. Very well done. Now let's get to the end of the concordance. And we'll get to the maps. Or the map index, I suppose, first. There we are. The end of the concordance, and then the index atlas to the Bible, to the Holy Bible. There's a list of maps, and then you have your list of biblical names. My eyes are getting bad, people. This is terrible. I keep trying to read the text through the viewfinder, and I'm recording on my cell phone, and it's just, I'm like squinting and blinking and trying to figure things out. Maybe I just need some glasses. And there we go, the maps. A little bit of printer's information there, printed in Great Britain. And there's the sample of the maps. And these, the color choice here is, maybe something to be desired. Maybe something to desire a better, I don't know. This is a weird color choice for me, this kind of golden color. It does, however, make it easy to differentiate between the kind of the surface features of the map and the text. Sometimes you'll see they use like a darker color, like a dark brown, or even sometimes like a black, and it just gets very hard to read the text. This is fairly easy to read the text overlaying the map details, especially in like this sort of thing here. There's a very nice collection of maps. And you just have a few blank pages at the end. There is a little stamp there. I'll show it to you guys. There's your item number, and that looks like a production code, but I can't be sure because it says 9/6/1/12. So I'm not sure if it's the 12th month of 1961 or if it's the 9th month of 1961, the 12th day. I'm not sure. I'm not privy to their exact codes, but it would seem, just judging by all the codes that are throughout it, that it's like an early 1960s edition. So let's go ahead and get your measurement of everything. So the outside cover measures in at 9 1/8 inches tall by just over 6 inches wide. And look how thin this is. Oh, wonderful edition. And it looks to be about 1.25 inches thick, just under 1.25 inches thick. So very trim size, especially given all the helps that there are in there, which would probably explain the very thin India paper. That's probably how they managed to do all that. So let's go ahead and measure the text. And this should be standard between all the sizes. So I should probably remember this the first time I measure it. So we can just breeze through this every time after this, right? And it's a pretty good sized text. Man, look at that. It's about I'd say an 11-point font for the uppercase. And for the lowercase, Yeah, it's about an 11-point font all the way around, versus Times New Roman. So if you guys were interested in maybe typing up a little something on your computer to see how big the font is and printing it off, use an 11-point Times New Roman font, and you'll get a good feel for how large this font is. Very readable size. I think most large print Bibles now are considered like around 11-point font, 12-point font, somewhere in there. So definitely this should be easy to read, and it's certainly easy enough for me to read with my poor old aging eyes. Yeah, so I feel like I'm forgetting something, which means I probably am, because that's usually how it goes. But Bible buddies, if you enjoy this long primer, certainly you should enjoy all of the other long primers I had sitting here directly to my left. I have quite a few, so again, I will try to space them out so I don't bombard you guys. But just be aware that there are more long primer reviews coming up, and some of them, not all of them, will be for sale. I think I'm just going to keep. I think I'm only going to keep like a couple. I like the idea of keeping like an older Oxford that has the italicized words, and then maybe this newer one that does not have the italicized words, and then I have a Thomas Nelson that is the bee's knees that I will probably be keeping because it is a chunky monster. So Bible buddies, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them down below. If you could like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff to get me up there in the algorithm things, feel free to do so. If not, I will talk to you later, Bible buddies. Bye.